Hello everyone, and welcome back to Stamps Old World Us, the channel where we explore the fascinating world of classic United States stamps, their history, rarity, and current market values. If you enjoy learning about rare stamps and discovering what they could be worth in today's market, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another exciting episode. Today's featured stamp is one of the most recognizable classic American stamps ever issued. The beautiful 1-cent George Washington green stamp. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary 1-cent stamp, but many collectors know that certain varieties of this stamp have become highly collectible and can sell for surprisingly high prices. Some examples are worth only a few dollars, while rare versions can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their condition and unique characteristics. The portrait on this stamp features George Washington, the first President of the United States. His image has appeared on numerous American stamps throughout history because he symbolizes the nation's founding and its postal heritage. This elegant green design became one of the most familiar sights on letters mailed across America during the early 20th century. The stamp shown here belongs to one of the Washington Definitive series, which was printed in enormous quantities. Millions of these stamps were used for everyday mail, making common examples relatively easy to find today. However, collecting these stamps is far from simple because there are many different printings, perforation measurements, paper varieties, watermark types, and shades of green. These small differences can dramatically affect the value of a stamp. Many beginning collectors assume that every old stamp is automatically valuable. In reality, rarity depends on several important factors. The first factor is condition. A stamp with bright original color, perfect centering, intact perforations, and no tears, creases, stains, or missing corners will always command a higher price than a damaged example. Professional grading services can significantly increase buyer confidence, especially for high-grade specimens. Another important factor is whether the stamp is mint or used. A mint stamp with original gum that has never been hinged generally sells for more than a used example. Used stamps, however, can still be valuable if they have a light, attractive cancellation and exceptional centering. Collectors often pay premium prices for beautifully preserved used copies. One of the most exciting aspects of collecting Washington stamps is identifying the exact Scott catalog number. While many stamps look almost identical, small differences in perforation gauge or watermark can separate a common stamp worth only a few dollars from a scarcer variety worth hundreds or even thousands. This is why experienced collectors always use a perforation gauge and watermark detector before identifying a stamp. Let's talk about today's market value. A typical used 1-cent George Washington green stamp in average condition usually sells for around $0.25 to $5. A well-centered used example with excellent eye appeal may sell for $10 to $30. Mint examples with original gum often range between $20 and $100. Depending on the specific variety and condition, higher grade certified examples become much more valuable. Professionally graded stamps with exceptional centering can easily sell for $200 to $1,000. Scarce varieties, unusual perforations, or rare printings have been known to realize $2,000 to over $10,000 at major stamp auctions. The rarest identified varieties and error stamps from the Washington series have achieved prices reaching tens of thousands of dollars, making them some of the most sought-after classic United States stamps. Collectors should remember that market prices change over time depending on demand, rarity, auction results, and overall condition. Two stamps that appear nearly identical can have vastly different values simply because one belongs to a scarcer printing or has superior centering. That is why proper identification is essential before assigning a value. If you discover one of these stamps in an old family collection, avoid cleaning it or attempting to improve its appearance. Cleaning can permanently reduce its value. Instead, store it safely in a stamp stockbook or protective mount and consider having unusual examples examined by a professional philatelic expert. Expert certification can reveal hidden varieties that many collectors overlook. One reason collectors continue to love the George Washington series is its incredible variety. There are different shades of green, multiple printing methods, coil stamps, booklet stamps, and numerous perforation combinations. Learning to distinguish these varieties turns an ordinary-looking stamp into an exciting treasure hunt. Another feature collectors appreciate is the historical significance. These stamps carried countless personal letters, business correspondence, postcards, and official documents across the United States during a period of tremendous national growth. Every surviving stamp represents a small piece of American postal history that has traveled through time to reach today's collectors. Auction records continue to demonstrate strong demand for premium quality Washington stamps. Serious collectors compete for well-centered examples because truly outstanding copies are much harder to find than many people realize. As the supply of high-grade stamps becomes smaller, exceptional examples often continue to appreciate in value, whether you are a beginner or an experienced philatelist. The 1-cent George Washington stamp remains an essential addition to any United States stamp collection. Its rich history, numerous collectible varieties, and strong collector interest make it one of the most fascinating classic stamps ever produced. Next up, the iconic 1-cent Benjamin Franklin blue stamp, one of the most famous and widely collected stamps in United States postal history. Although millions of these stamps were printed and used for everyday mail, certain varieties have become highly collectible, with some examples selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity, condition, and printing type. Benjamin Franklin was one of America's founding fathers, an inventor, scientist, diplomat, writer, and the nation's very first postmaster general. Because of his enormous contribution to the American postal system, his portrait has appeared on many U.S. stamps over the years. This beautiful blue 1-cent stamp is one of the most recognizable Franklin issues ever produced and remains a favorite among collectors worldwide. At first glance, this stamp may seem ordinary because similar designs were printed in very large quantities during the early 20th century. However, experienced philatelists know that identifying the exact variety is the key to determining its true value. Small differences in perforations, paper, watermark, printing method, and color shade can transform what appears to be a common stamp into a valuable collectible. One of the first things collectors examine is the stamp's condition. Condition is one of the biggest factors affecting market value. A stamp with bright color, sharp impressions, perfectly balanced margins, and undamaged perforations will always attract stronger interest from buyers. Even tiny faults such as short perforations, creases, stains, or thin spots can reduce the value significantly. Collectors also distinguish between mint and used examples. A mint stamp with original gum that has never been hinged generally commands higher prices than a used copy. However, beautifully canceled used examples with exceptional centering remain highly desirable and are often collected by specialists building complete Franklin collections. Another important factor is centering. Many early U.S. stamps were not perfectly centered during production. Collectors pay premium prices for stamps with equal white margins on all four sides. Professional grading services often award high numerical grades to exceptionally centered examples, and these certified stamps can sell for many times more than average copies. Now let's discuss today's market value. A common used 1-cent Benjamin Franklin blue stamp typically sells for around $0.25 to $5 depending on its condition and exact variety. A well-preserved used example with attractive centering may bring $10 to $40. Mint examples with original gum frequently sell between $25 and $150. Especially if they are fresh and well-centered, certified high-grade copies are considerably more valuable, depending on the specific Scott catalog number and grade. Professionally certified examples can sell for $300 to $2,000. Scarcer varieties featuring unusual perforations, rare watermarks, or limited printings have realized $5,000 to more than $20,000 at major philatelic auctions. The rarest Franklin stamp varieties and production errors are among the most valuable classic United States stamps ever offered for sale. Collectors should remember that not every old Franklin stamp is rare. Proper identification is essential because several nearly identical designs exist. Two stamps that look exactly alike to the untrained eye may differ greatly in value simply because of a different perforation gauge or watermark. This is why experienced collectors always consult specialized stamp catalogs and use proper measuring tools before assigning a value. If you inherit an old stamp collection and discover one of these Franklin stamps, avoid cleaning or repairing it. Cleaning may permanently damage the paper or remove valuable original characteristics. Instead, preserve the stamp in a protective mount or stockbook, and, if you suspect it may be a scarce variety, consider submitting it for expert certification. Professional authentication can confirm whether the stamp Is an ordinary issue or a rare collectible worth substantially more? The Benjamin Franklin series remains one of the most enjoyable areas of United States philately because it offers something for every collector. Beginners can build affordable collections, while advanced specialists search for elusive shades, rare perforation varieties, plate flaws, and production errors that are difficult to find. This combination of accessibility and rarity keeps demand strong year after year. Beyond its monetary value, this stamp represents an important chapter in American history. Every surviving example carried letters, postcards, invoices, legal documents, and personal messages across the country during a period of remarkable economic growth. Holding one of these stamps is like holding a small piece of America's communication history. Major stamp auctions continue to show strong collector interest in premium quality Franklin stamps. As more collectors compete for the finest certified examples, outstanding pieces often achieve impressive prices. High-grade examples with exceptional eye appeal remain especially sought after because relatively few have survived in pristine condition. Whether you are just beginning your stamp collecting journey or have been collecting for many years, the 1-cent Benjamin Franklin blue stamp deserves a place in every United States stamp collection. Its rich historical significance, beautiful engraved design, and fascinating range of collectible varieties make it one of the greatest classics in American philately. Next up, the beautiful 5-cent George Washington blue stamp, one of the most recognizable classic U.S. definitive stamps ever issued. While many collectors have seen this stamp before, very few realize that certain varieties can be worth far more than their original 5-cent face value, depending on the exact issue, condition, and rarity. This small piece of American history can range from just a few dollars to several $1,000s in today's stamp market. The stamp features a finely engraved portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States and one of the most honored figures in American history. Washington has appeared on numerous U.S. postage stamps because of his role in shaping the nation. This elegant blue design became a familiar sight on letters, official documents, and business correspondence during the early 20th century. Although millions of 5-cent George Washington stamps were printed, collectors know that not all examples are the same. There are different printings, perforation measurements, paper types, watermark varieties, and shades of blue. These differences may appear very small, but they can dramatically affect the stamp's value. A collector who carefully identifies the exact variety may discover that what seems like an ordinary stamp is actually a scarce issue. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining market value. A stamp with bright original color, sharp engraving, complete perforations, and no tears, creases, stains, or repairs is always more desirable. Collectors also pay close attention to centering. A perfectly centered stamp with even margins on all four sides is much harder to find and often sells for a significant premium. Whether the stamp is mint or used also plays a major role in its value. Mint examples with original gum that have never been hinged are especially desirable. Used copies are generally more affordable, but a lightly canceled stamp with excellent centering and attractive appearance can still command impressive prices. Now let's look at the current market value in today's US dollar market. A common used 5-cent George Washington stamp in average condition typically sells for $1 to $10. Better centered used examples in very fine condition often bring $20 to $75. Mint examples with original gum usually sell between $50 and $300. Depending on the exact catalog variety and overall quality, professionally graded examples are much more valuable. Certified high-grade stamps with exceptional centering can sell for $500 to $2,500. Scarce perforation varieties, rare printings, and unusual production errors have sold for $5,000 to over $25,000 at major philatelic auctions. The rarest examples from the Washington series remain highly sought after by advanced collectors and continue to achieve strong prices whenever they appear on the market. One reason this stamp remains so popular is that it offers collectors an exciting challenge. Many issues look nearly identical, but careful examination with a perforation gauge, watermark detector, and specialized stamp catalog can reveal important differences. These small details often separate a common stamp from a rare and valuable collectible. Collectors should never attempt to clean or repair an old stamp. Even well-intentioned cleaning can permanently reduce its value. Instead, store the stamp in a quality stockbook or protective mount to preserve its condition. If you believe you have an unusual variety or an exceptionally well-preserved example, professional authentication and grading can help determine its true market value. The 5-cent George Washington stamp is more than just a collectible. It represents an important period in American postal history when handwritten letters connected families, businesses, and communities across the country. Every surviving stamp has completed a journey through history, carrying messages that are now part of America's rich postal heritage. Today, collectors around the world continue searching for premium examples of this classic stamp. Auction results consistently show that high-quality, certified specimens remain in strong demand. As collectors compete for the finest examples, outstanding stamps often realize impressive prices, making this one of the most respected issues in United States philately, whether you are just starting your stamp collection or have years of collecting experience. The 5-cent George Washington blue stamp deserves a place in your collection. Its beautiful engraved design, fascinating history, collectible varieties, and steady collector demand make it one of the true classics of American stamp collecting. Next up, the magnificent 1898 United States $1 Trans-Mississippi Exposition Stamp, commonly known by collectors as the Western Cattle in Storm stamp. This beautiful blue stamp is one of the highlights of the famous Trans-Mississippi Exposition series and has become one of the most admired engraved stamps ever produced by the United States Post Office. The Trans-Mississippi Exposition was held in Omaha, Nebraska, in 1898 to celebrate the growth and development of the American West. To commemorate this important national event, the United States issued a special series of beautifully engraved stamps featuring scenes from American history, transportation, exploration, and Western expansion. Among all the values in the set, the $1 stamp remains one of the most iconic and desirable. The design of this remarkable stamp features a dramatic Western scene with cattle and cowboys facing an approaching storm, symbolizing the rugged spirit of the American frontier. The intricate engraving showcases the incredible craftsmanship of 19th-century American stamp production. Even after more than a century, collectors continue to admire the sharp detail and artistic beauty of this masterpiece. Unlike ordinary postage stamps used for everyday mail, the $1 denomination was intended for heavy postage, international shipments, and valuable parcels. Because of its high face value in 1898, relatively few people purchased or used these stamps compared to lower denominations. As a result, surviving examples are much scarcer today, especially in excellent condition. One of the first things collectors examine is whether the stamp is mint or used. Mint examples with original gum are especially desirable because many were lost, damaged, or hinged over the past century. Used examples are also highly collectible, particularly those with light, attractive cancellations that do not obscure the beautiful engraved design. Condition plays an enormous role in determining market value. Collectors carefully inspect the centering, color, perforations, paper quality, and overall appearance. A stamp with vibrant blue color, sharp perforations, clean paper, and balanced margins can be worth several times more than an average example. Even small faults such as tears, creases, heavy cancellations, stains, or missing perforations can significantly reduce the value. Professional certification has become increasingly important in today's stamp market. Organizations such as the Philatelic Foundation and professional stamp experts examine rare stamps for authenticity and condition. Certified examples inspire greater confidence among collectors and often achieve much stronger prices at auction. Now let's discuss the current market value in today's US dollar market. A typical used $1 Trans-Mississippi Exposition stamp with average condition generally sells for around $200 to $700. A well-preserved used example with attractive centering can bring $800 to $2,500, depending on its quality and eye appeal. Mint examples are considerably more valuable. A mint stamp with original gum usually sells between $2,500 and $10,000, depending on freshness, centering, and gum condition. Exceptionally well centered, certified examples frequently sell for $10,000 to $40,000 at major philatelic auctions. The finest known examples have achieved extraordinary auction results. Rare, premium quality certified copies with outstanding centering and flawless preservation have sold for more than $50,000. while historically important examples with exceptional provenance have realized even higher prices in specialized stamp auctions. These impressive sales demonstrate the enduring popularity of this iconic American classic. Collectors should remember that values depend on authenticity, condition, centering, gum quality, certification, and overall market demand. Two stamps that appear similar can differ dramatically in value based on these important characteristics. Before buying or selling an expensive stamp, professional identification and certification are highly recommended. The Trans-Mississippi series remains one of the greatest achievements in United States stamp design. Its detailed engraved artwork, historical significance, and limited surviving population continue to attract collectors from around the world. Completing the full Trans-Mississippi set is considered a major accomplishment in American philately, and the $1 value is one of its centerpiece stamps, beyond its financial value. This stamp represents an important chapter in American history. It reflects the nation's westward expansion, economic growth, and artistic excellence during the late 19th century. Every surviving example has traveled through more than 100 years of history, making it much more than a simple postage stamp. It is a genuine historical artifact treasured by museums, collectors, and investors alike. Demand for high-quality Trans-Mississippi stamps remains strong worldwide. Major stamp auctions continue to attract competitive bidding whenever premium examples become available. As fewer superb copies remain on the market, collectors are often willing to pay substantial premiums for exceptional quality and certified authenticity, whether you are an experienced philatelist or just beginning your collecting journey. The 1898 $1 Trans-Mississippi Exposition Stamp is one of the most important and beautiful stamps in United States postal history. Its extraordinary engraving, historical importance, collector demand, and impressive market value make it a true masterpiece of classic American philately. Next up, the legendary 1847 12-cent George Washington stamp. This remarkable black stamp is one of the very first official postage stamps ever issued by the United States Post Office. Because of its historical importance and rarity, it has become one of the most sought-after classics among collectors around the world. The United States issued its first official postage stamps on July 1, 1847. Before that time, mailing letters was a much more complicated process, and postage was often paid by the recipient instead of the sender. The introduction of adhesive postage stamps completely transformed the American postal system and made mailing letters simpler and more efficient. The first issue included only two stamps, the 5-cent Benjamin Franklin and the 12-cent George Washington. Together, these two stamps marked the beginning of United States philately. The 12-cent stamp features a finely engraved portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The elegant black design reflects the engraving skills of the 19th century and remains one of the most admired classic stamp designs ever produced. Although the design appears simple compared with modern colorful stamps, collectors appreciate its historical significance and beautiful craftsmanship compared with later U.S. stamps. Relatively few 12-cent Washington stamps were printed. Many examples were used on letters, exposed to rough handling, or simply discarded after serving their postal purpose. As a result, surviving examples in fine condition are much scarcer today than many other classic American stamps. Collectors carefully examine several important characteristics before determining the value of this stamp. The first is authenticity. Since this stamp is both rare and valuable, counterfeit examples have appeared over the years. Professional authentication is strongly recommended before buying or selling any 1847 issue. Condition is another major factor. Collectors look for clean paper, strong black color, sharp impressions, full margins, and the absence of tears, creases, repairs, or stains. Unlike many later stamps, this issue was printed without perforations, meaning collectors pay close attention to the size and quality of the margins surrounding the design. Large, even margins on all four sides greatly increase the value. Whether the stamp is unused or used also affects its market price. Genuine unused examples are exceptionally scarce because nearly all stamps were purchased for immediate postal use during the 19th century. Used copies with attractive cancellations and generous margins remain highly desirable and often command impressive auction prices. Now let's discuss the current market value in today's U.S. dollar market. A genuine used 1847 12-cent George Washington stamp with average margins and normal condition typically sells for around $700 to $2,500. Better centered examples with attractive margins and light cancellations often sell between $3,000 and $8,000. Unused examples are much rarer and considerably more valuable, depending on condition and originality. Genuine unused copies frequently sell for $10,000 to $50,000. Exceptionally well-preserved examples with outstanding margins and professional certification have realized more than $100,000 at major international stamp auctions. The finest certified examples have achieved extraordinary prices because of their rarity and historical importance. Museum-quality copies with exceptional provenance and superb preservation have sold for well over $150,000. Making this one of the crown jewels of classic United States philately. Collectors should remember that every 1847 Washington stamp is unique. Small differences in margins, cancellations, paper quality, repairs, and overall appearance can dramatically affect value. Two stamps that appear similar at first glance may differ in price by tens of thousands of dollars depending on these characteristics. Because of its high value, collectors should always handle this stamp carefully using stamp tongs rather than fingers. It should be stored in a high-quality protective mount or archival album to prevent damage. If you inherit or discover one of these stamps in an old collection, never attempt to clean or repair it. Professional expertization and certification are the safest ways to determine its authenticity and true market value. The 1847 issue represents the birth of the United States postage stamp system. Every surviving example tells the story of America's growing postal network during the 19th century. These stamps carried letters between families, businesses, government offices, and communities at a time when written correspondence was the primary form of long-distance communication. Collectors around the world continue to compete for high-quality examples whenever they appear at major auctions. Demand remains consistently strong because the stamp is not only rare but also represents the very beginning of American stamp collecting. As the number of premium examples available on the market continues to decline, exceptional specimens remain valuable investments for serious philatelists, whether you are a beginner or an advanced collector. The 1847 12-cent George Washington stamp is one of the greatest treasures in United States postal history. Its remarkable historical significance, beautiful engraving, rarity, and impressive market value ensure that it will remain one of the most celebrated American stamps for generations to come. Thank you for watching another episode of Stamps Old World Us. I hope you enjoyed learning about the history, rarity, and current market value of the legendary 1847 12-cent George Washington stamp. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos featuring rare U.S. stamps, famous auction sales, hidden philatelic treasures, and updated market values in U.S. dollars. Leave a comment below and let us know which classic United States stamp you would like to see featured next. Until next time, happy collecting, and remember that some of the world's greatest treasures are no larger than a postage stamp, yet they can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.